have dispatched the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are headed to vacation. Man, as soon as the Minnesota Vikings get eliminated from the playoffs, the Minnesota Vikings have won 4 games in a row, sweeping the division favorite Detroit Lions. And here's where I was right all season long. When they lost their offensive coordinator, lost their defensive coordinator, man, I said that that was going to take a toll on the Lions, and sure as hell did it. Looking at the stats, Max Brosmer got to start today, 9 for 16, 51 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 62.5 QBR. Man, Max Brosmer did not, in his full body of work that he has shown against the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions, man, he does not look good. And I think he has all the physical tools in terms of being able to sling that pill. But I also think that he is very hesitant, holds onto the ball too long, not quite sure of what he's doing. And it showed again today in the game versus the Detroit Lions, but it didn't seem to hurt the Minnesota Vikings because my guy B-Flow came with it today. Again, man, there are a lot of people that have different things to say about B-Flow, but man, B-Flow, Skull Vikings, DOD 2 Black, Skull Vikings. Man, B-Flow brought it again today with his defensive game planning. His scheme was absolutely fantastic. I thought that KOC tried to get Justin Jefferson involved in the game early, but another pedestrian game by Jordan Jefferson, not his fault, but he's been struggling with bad quarterback play all year long. Caught a key reception at the end of the game to get a key first down for the Minnesota Vikings. They tried to get him involved early, like I said before, but nothing really seemed to happen for Justin Jefferson again today. Man, the Minnesota Vikings defense came to play absolutely fantastic. I mean, man, they were killing Jared Goff up front. I mean, they had about 1 million people on that defensive line. Guys were dropping out. Guys were rushing. Not only were they rushing, but they were getting into those passing lanes, man. You guys saw how many deflected balls that the Minnesota Vikings defense get today in the game. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. It's like B-Flow now understands the kryptonite of Jared Goff. You know, they had been eating up B-Flow's defense for the past couple of years, but it seems like this year B-Flow has really found out what it takes to stop Jared Goff, and you could see it again today, man. They had 1 million guys up on that defensive line. Even when they didn't get home, they were able to get in passing lanes and be able to deflect balls. And then they were able to rush and be successful at getting those sacks. And even when they didn't get home, Jared Goff was rushed. And he had a lot of early throws, a lot of errant throws. Harrison, the hitman, was able to step in front of a couple of passes, get his hands on some in terms of deflections, but able to pick off some as well. So I thought it was a great scheme, great game plan by B-Flow. Again, the Minnesota Vikings are 8-8, 500. They're on the verge of a winning season if they can win next week against the Green Bay Packers. What's up, Purple Soda? Was at the movie with my little sister for Christmas, so I missed the game. Glad we won. Hey, man, let me tell you, it wasn't the funnest game to watch, Purple Soda. It wasn't from an entertainment standpoint. I just knew early on that the Minnesota Vikings were not going to be able to move the ball. You could see the way Max Brosmer was playing today. The dude was skittish in the pocket. He was turtling up, taking sacks. And I knew that we would be hard-pressed to score points. So I said, B-Flow is going to have to come with it today, man. And B-Flow was in his bag today. I mean, they found something. They found something to be able to stop Jared Goff, man. I mean, they're getting that interior pressure, which moves Jared Goff off of his spot. And so once you start to move Jared Goff off of his spot, man, he just gets out of rhythm. He just gets out of rhythm for sure. Max didn't do too well, man. Max Quarterback play in the NFL is getting really bad, man. I saw the Jackson Dart thing last week with the Minnesota Vikings throwing for like 30-something yards. Max Brosmer wasn't much better today. He was either getting sacked, running for his life, or throwing incomplete passes. I thought after they had completed a couple of passes early to Jets, I thought that this was going to be a different story. I looked for him to stay in rhythm. But the Lions again rushed him off his spot, Soda, and he just didn't look great. So now you got really two games. The Seattle Seahawks game, which the Seattle Seahawks defense was number one or two in the league, depending on what publications you're looking at. And the Detroit Lions defense is not trash, but it's sure as hell not as good as the Seattle Seahawks defense. But he didn't look great today, man. He looked kind of skittish, in my opinion. Did not look good. So he's got two games in which he started, and he has not looked good. I predicted that if he were to play the last two games, that in one of the two games that he would look good. This was not one of the games, man. If we want to win next week, we got to bring JJ McCarthy back if he's healthy enough to go. If Max Brosmer has to go next week against the Green Bay Packers, man, I just don't know. I just don't know. Addison scored on a little sweep handoff, which was a genius call by KOC. The passing game wasn't going well. Addison came in motion. Ball was snapped. Quick handoff by Brosmer to Jordan Addison. Man, he took that thing to the house. I knew Jordan Addison was fast, but his speed on that play was next level. He outran the whole defense of the Detroit Lions. He got caught at the end, which he had to dive for the pylon. But man, up the sideline, Jordan Addison was gone. It was a genius play, quick play by KOC. Everyone talks about KOC and his play calling. That was a great play call by KOC, man. But the story of the day was the Minnesota Vikings defense. That looked like old vintage last year takeaway defense by the Minnesota Vikings, intercepting the ball, getting sacks, hopping on fumbles, thumping people, stopping the running game. I mean, when you envision the Minnesota Vikings defense, they have not been bad this year, but they haven't been elite. They've been just good enough to keep the Minnesota Vikings relevant. And then you saw it again today, man. B-Flow, I don't know. I understand the lawsuit, but if I am an ownership group and I want a guy to come in and be able to take over my franchise where you know it's going to be about football, man, you got to take a really, I don't want to lose B-Flow, but you got to take a really big time look at B-Flow, man. They showed, I thought it was interesting, they showed during the game that Justin Jefferson was a little bit upset on the sideline. Did you guys see that? Justin Jefferson was a little bit upset on the sidelines. I thought it was after multiple possessions for the Minnesota Vikings where the offense just didn't move. Justin Jefferson showed his frustration a little bit. Man, Justin Jefferson, he may not get 1,000 yards next year, man. That would be a travesty if he doesn't get 1,000 yards next week, fellas. They got to find a way to scheme that in, man. They got to find a way to scheme that in because as good of a team player as Justin Jefferson is, can you imagine if that brother did not get 1,000 yards, Justin Jefferson? And I know a lot of these dudes say, man, that they really don't care about the stats. They just care about the win. But listen, man, people care about their legacy. Like, it's time to try to scheme Justin Jefferson in that thing. I know it may sound like a selfish thing, but I want to see Justin Jefferson get his 1,000 yards. Don't you out there, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation? Like Justin Jefferson, at least if there's anything that can happen this year for the Purple, man, it's got to be that Justin Jefferson gets his 1,000 yards. A lot of frustration on the sidelines, man. But when you look at the Minnesota Vikings and they're on a 4-game winning streak, the 2 games against the Lions, this was the type of team that you envision the Minnesota Vikings to be. This is why this season has been such a buzzkill, because now we're starting to see it. We're starting to see a different level of play calling from KOC, obviously leaning on the running game a lot. And let me tell you this, man. Everybody talks about how fragile and how injury prone Aaron Jones is. Man, Aaron Jones is a warrior. He's been hurt the last two games, went out hurt this game. I didn't think he was coming back at all in this game. Came back towards the end. They were touting him the rock the whole time, running off tackle, running up the gut, knowing that he was injured. Man, Aaron Jones is a warrior. I'm not saying that we should bring him back next year, but it tells you a lot about people when there is nothing to play for. It's not like the Minnesota Vikings are going to the playoffs. UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation. It's not like they're going to the playoffs. This dude is out there injured, and he wants to rock. He did the same thing last week when he found out Jordan Mason wasn't coming back in the game. They were in the blue tent together. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they were in the blue tent together. He knew that Jordan Mason was going to be ruled out. He was hurt himself. He says, well, if Jordan Mason is going to be out, then I'm back in there. And the same thing happened today. Went out early injured. I thought he was done for the game. We were thin. We were thin at that spot. He knew he had to come in. Max Brosmer was relying on him. I mean, if we didn't have a running game, man, that would have been it for the Minnesota Vikings, because Max Brosmer was not moving the ball at all. Two-Tone in the house. What's up, Two-Tone? Two-Tone says that was a pretty good game, especially on defense. That was a masterclass by B-Flow, man. More than a masterclass. Two-Tone, more than a masterclass, man. The one thing that I said you can hang your hat on when it comes to this football team, you can't hang your hat on the offensive line. You can't hang your hat on the running backs. You can't hang your hat on the quarterbacks. You can't hang. The one thing that you can hang your hat on, for the most part, that's going to show up 99.9% of the time, is my boy B-Flow. That scheme and that defense, it showed up again. Now, we just need for it to show up one more time, because here's where I am right now, man. I know the more we win, the worse draft pick that we get. And listen, man, I'm just here to tell you, like I said last week, F them picks. We're not hitting on those picks anyway. So if we're going to win 4 in a row, we might as well win 5 in a row, especially against those Green Bay Packers. If there was any way, anyhow, that we could hurt the Green Bay Packers in terms of seeding, playoffs, any of that stuff, I want to be able to do that. And I know that defense is going to be there, but the key is going to be who we start at quarterback next week. If it's Max Brosmer, man, I don't know. If we start Max Brosmer, I'm just not sure, UP Nation, if we can pull that thing off, because he hasn't shown at all that he can even get first downs when he's at the helm. But if it's J.J. McCarthy, hopefully his hand is healed. I think we have an opportunity with that B-Flow defense. And if we get the J.J. McCarthy that has played the last couple of weeks, then I think we have a shot at that game, man. But it all depends on who starts at quarterback, man. Minnesota Vikings today, 23-10. Great defensive effort by the Vikings. Great job by B-Flow in the scheme. I thought the Minnesota Vikings played well. They're turning this season around, so at least the season can be respectable. Hats off to the Purple. They have nothing to play for, and these guys, hey, man, most times guys are ready to hit Cancun. They're just ready to hit Cancun. They're ready to go home. The Minnesota Vikings are still at work. They got one more game to go. So hats off to our Purple, man. This is Unconventional Playbook. For those of you out there listening, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Just wanted to jump on here live and talk about the Minnesota Vikings victory versus the Detroit Lions, knocking the Detroit Lions out of the playoffs. I've got lots of relatives that live in Detroit, so I know they are hurting right now, but so be it. Minnesota Vikings win 23-10. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back to talk about this game tomorrow to give it a little wrap up, give you some insight on things that I saw. Where do the Minnesota Vikings go next from here? What about Max Brosmer? What about JJ McCarthy? We'll get into all that this week. But this has been Unconventional Playbook. And as always, to Tone, the DOD, Purple Soda, all the people that tapped in tonight, I will make sure to see you when I see you.